The Ordinary Discussion Podcast.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, you mentioned like God wouldn't want to cost me my job. Well, that's not a biblical concept. I think even of Joseph, um, I mean, Joseph not only lost his job, but he lost his freedom because he stood up for what God would have him do. He didn't cave to the pressure. If you remember the story of Joseph in Genesis, as you know, his brothers sold him into slavery, right? And so then he goes and he becomes a slave and he works his way up into this guy's house and he becomes the second in charge of this incredibly wealthy man's estate. And he was, by that position, had lots of wealth and authority and very blessed by God, you could say. Absolutely. And God definitely did have his hand on him and blessed him into that position. But then his boss's wife took a liking to him and kept, making advances on him. And he kept saying no. And when he said no, she got frustrated. And then finally, one day she's in there laying on the bed saying, "Come lie with me." And he says, "No, I'm not going to do that." And she grabs hold of his jacket and he literally runs out of the room.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you took kind of the mindset that you said, you could just say, well, I'll just lay down with her for a minute and appease her so that she leaves me alone and I can keep my job. I'm not going to go there or whatever. But he did the right thing and he ran away from the possibility of sin. And ultimately he lost his job and he went straight to prison. And he was in prison for years. I mean, if that's that doesn't really jive with the prosperity gospel or the thought that God wouldn't ask me to do something that cost me my job. Is right there in the Word of God.